All right, folks, welcome back to DragonWorks once again. Glad you could join us. Back on the 1979 Honda GL1000 Goldwing. What you're about to see, this is the next day. I recorded the footage the day before. What you're about to see is the first start after I rebuilt the carburetors. But we have a couple factors fighting against us right now. When the bike originally came in, it was smoking really bad when we started it. And there's a couple contributing factors to that. One of them is when I remove the carburetors and the intake here, you can look right down inside the valves, and there's just a puddle of fuel in each one of those. And the valves are all carboned up. So somebody's been running it. This bike apparently sat for a long time. The carbs are all stuck and what have you, the floats, and it's just been dumping raw fuel down in that motor forever, however long they've been trying to run it. And so we got a bunch of carbon buildup, a bunch of raw fuel in there, and most likely the valve seals on the valve stems are hard and a little bit dry, and they're going to let some oil by, and it's going to get into the chamber, and that's where a lot of the smoke comes from. The other factor would be rings, except for the fact that I did a compression test on this thing, and it came up 180 on all cylinders. So I'm hoping that's because the rings are good and not because there's so much oil in there. So we're going to find out, because we're going to rectify these situations somewhere along the line to get this thing running properly. So until I get those situations rectified, I'm not going to be able to get this thing tuned in, and it's not going to run real good and all that till I get there. But you stick around during this series and you will see at the end, this thing's going to be a screamer. And when we take that final ride, that test ride, you're going to see this thing just really run awesome and what have you. And that's the way they leave here. Most people wouldn't show you this part of it, but it's important for the owner and followers and future customers to see the process that I have to go through with bringing these old bikes back to life. Now, remember, this is 1979. That's a while back. And when you're reviving these old things, you take one step forward, two steps back. All the gremlins come out, all these other problems you don't know about come out, and that's part of the process. So that's the main thing we do here at DragonWorks, is revive old bikes, get them running good, and get them safe for the street so people can enjoy them for many years to come. And in order to do that, you have to go through a lot of not so pleasant things sometimes. So once again, this thing smokes like a chimney. I got to get that straightened out, and we're going to continue to get the carbs right and get the smoke taken care of, and all these things are going to happen, and it's all going to come together, and we'll move on. We still got a lot of work to do to this bike, so we're going to have many videos on it for sure. So stay tuned, check all this out, and let's get to the action, shall we? All right, let's try first start. It's going to take us a couple seconds to fill the bowls up because it's got a fuel pump on it, and the bowls are completely dry right now. So it'll take a couple cranks to get the fuel in the carburetors, but let's hope for the best. Full choke, obviously. Here goes nothing. Okay, she should be getting ready to go. Might have to crack a little, I don't know where the adjustment is here. me check everything out real quick for leaks and all that stuff. That wasn't too bad. We'll fire it right back up. Stand by. Okay, so far so good, no leaks. I'm going to try to fire it back up and see if I can adjust this idle here a little bit, keep it running. Let's see if it'll start right back up and no choke. Now, what I am worried about is, well, I'm not worried about it. It's going to be fine, but when I pulled these carbs off, and I'll pop some pictures up there, there was just so much gas laying down inside of here where the floats were wrong and the needles were sticking, and it was just flooding the cylinders. And when I pulled the carbs off, you can see down in the valves, and there's so much gas there. And also there was a lot of carbon built up on there because they've been running it like that. So I'm not going to be able to tune them until I burn all that out. Hopefully it'll stop smoking. Maybe that's what all that smoke was just all that extra carbon building on there. Anyway, let's try it. Let's try start it without choke. And then let me see if I can adjust this. Oh, almost right up. One side, maybe you guys can't even see it. But this one side is, that's why I said she's a smoker. This side's puffing a little bit too here. But we're going to burn all that off before we can get this thing running right. Carbs are great, but I don't know if the seals, see, that's going to foul the plugs out. I don't know if the seals are bad. Are you guys catching this? You seeing all the smoke roll out of this thing? Yeah. Woo-wee. Yeah. I hope that burns out, because if that keeps up, then we got no choice. We're going to go in there and fix them valve seals, because that much oil, I hope it's, I mean, it smells like a little combination of oil and carbon and what have you, but oh, it's just, look, it's got it smoked up in here. But anyway, that will just keep fouling the plugs out. It'll just oil soak the plugs, and it ain't going to run good like that. So I'm going to keep trying to burn that off. I'm going to pull this thing outside and run it and see if I can burn it off, or if this is going to continue. So stand by. It does run better, as you see, but you can't see how well it runs yet until we get this situation solved here. All right, stand by. Let's see what I can do. Let's crank it back up after running it a little bit. I think it's getting a little bit better. I got the idle turned down. definitely got my work cut out for me. I got to get that stuff burned out of there. All right, guys. Wow, yeah, man. I took that thing outside and I ran it and revved it. It just kept pouring smoke out. So my thoughts are that this thing sat a long, long time, and the valve seals got really dry. I hope they come back. I don't know. That one side smokes real, real bad. If I rev it, I mean, it'll just pour smoke out. So I thought instead of revving it up and stuff, I'm going to let it idle, and hopefully those seals will soften up a little bit. But it's coming around. It's much better. But like I say, I can't really adjust and tune on it or anything until I get all this smoky situation taken care of, because all that's doing is choking up my plugs, and you can't tell what you're doing when you're trying to adjust a bike like that. So I'm going to try running some Marvel Mystery Oil in through there too and see if that'll clean it out. It looks like I'm going to have some time just running this thing, trying to clean the motor out. And then if it stops smoking and it works out, I'll be able to start tuning them carbs in. But I don't know. It will eventually get right. All right, guys. Very interesting one. Got excellent compression. The carbs, they were pretty gunked up, but I got all new jets and stuff in them. So, and they're really clean. They cleaned up good. All the circuits are working. This bike ought to run like a top, but the problem is now is that it's just soaking down the plugs with oil and everything. So, stay tuned. Okay, just out of curiosity, try a next day cold start. Now we know we still got to deal with this motor and all this oil and carbon and stuff, but I'm just curious. Let's try no choke first. That's no choke. Yeah, it is cold. It hasn't started it yet today. Some there. Wow. Okay, so I didn't expect that. I thought I would have to keep it running or that I would have to choke it. Now, when I say cold start, it was 90 degrees yesterday, and when I left, the place is closed up, and at the end of the day, it's got a metal roof. It gets really hot in here, so it actually set in like 90-degree temperature the rest of the day and then all night. So, the motor's probably warm in some aspects, but anyway, that was pretty remarkable. That's a good sign. So after you saw the first, those videos, the first start, it smoked really bad. I couldn't even stay in the building any longer because I just couldn't get that thick smoke to get out of here. I took it outside and I ran it for a while and, tried to burn that out. It did seem like it got better. Then I pulled it back in, and that's what you saw, the one clip where I started. I said, okay, now let's try it. And I started it. And it was still puffing a little smoke, but it was definitely running a little better. So there is hope for this thing. That's what it takes to bring these things back to life sometimes. This poor thing has just been neglected. And then basically after the neglect, it gets abused because the carburetors aren't right. There's all these things. The valve seals are hard, and people try to get them running, and they're revving them up, and they just end up doing even more, wrongdoings to the bike. So I got to rectify that situation. So there is hope. It is going to get better. When this thing's done, like most, I guess I would want to say most businesses or companies would not show this part to their followers or customers or whatever, because this is a part you don't want to see things running rough and doing all this. You only want the final result when everything's perfect. Well, we'll get to that, but I'm showing you what it takes to get there and what, you know, these things, sometimes people think it's just magic and I should be able to make anything perfect and what have you, but there are all kinds of factors constantly battling against me to get something there that I have to overcome. And then that's why people bring their stuff here to DragonWorks, because I do overcome those problems one way or another. Even if it comes down to the fact that we have to rebuild the entire thing, we will get it right. Thanks for following along. This is going to get much better. Wait till you see when I get this thing finally tuned in and we do some video, because this thing is going to be a screamer and it's going to run better than a Cadillac. So stay tuned for all that, folks. Thanks for watching. All right, guys, I've been running this thing off and on all day. We're getting towards the end of the day, and I think this thing is starting to clear up. You saw the last video. Man, that thing was smoking like a chimney. Let's see what we got now. Let me start this thing up here real quick. Sorry. Looks like we're getting it. There's a little bit there. It's hard to see in the camera. Just a tiny bit still, but not like it was. Notice we got a little bit of a valve tick on this side. Gets kind of loud there, so got to address that situation, but that's expected. This side's not smoking. I still got to check out the points and set the timing and all that. Then I can get back to tuning the carburetors, because I just put them on. I haven't done any tuning yet or anything. Of course, the plugs are probably all sooted up from that oil and all that crap that was burning out. So I'll throw some new plugs in it before I tune on it, because I can guarantee I pull them out right now and they'll be black, be nasty looking. But it looks like we're getting it, huh? There, we got a little puff out. You see it? There it goes. Got a little bit, but it's much better than it was. All right. So I think it's going to clear up. I'm hoping. I hope it just clears up, and then we don't have to do a bunch of more work to it for the customer's sake, rather. You know, because doing valve seals and stuff, you can do it without, you know, taking the heads off, but I don't know if it's any faster or not. But yeah, it would cause him, you know, more money and stuff, and hoping it just clears up and it was just, you know, all the oil laying in there from all that time. But it's definitely coming around, huh? All right, stay tuned for the rest of the saga, huh?